Hello everyone, welcome to another lecture of the course Digital Signal Processing. Till now we have been looking at various operations of discrete time signals as well as systems. So till now we have been looking at discrete time signals as well as system, and we know that we generally represent it as say x of n, and we have seen that having operations with discrete time signals are quite easier, and this discrete time signal processing provides us various kinds of benefits. But if we consider the naturally occurring signals, so if we consider naturally occurring signals, for example my voice signal, so these naturally occurring signals like my voice signal are basically continuous time in nature. So all the naturally occurring signals are continuous time signals. Now when we need to have processing of these continuous time signals with the help of some computers or processors, then at that time we need to consider infinite values. So if we are going to have continuous time signals, then in that case we need to deal with infinite number of values, and this is because between any given time instance, so between any given two time instance, say t of 0 and say t1, so between these two time instants we basically have infinite number of values. And of course we cannot have processing of these infinite values. Moreover, the benefits that we have in discrete time signal processing won't be available if we consider the continuous time signals, and therefore we have a need to convert these continuous time signals to discrete time signals. So there is a need for conversion of continuous time signals to discrete time signals. And this conversion is achieved by the process of sampling. So this conversion is achieved done using the process known as sampling. So what do we basically do in sampling? So suppose I have this continuous time signal, say x of n. So this x of n is our continuous time signal, So instead of considering all the values, what we do is we take samples out of these continuous values or from this continuous time signal. For example, we pick a sample at say the 0th instant, then we don't consider any values from say 0 to some ts duration, and then we consider the second sample at ts duration. So we don't consider any values, so the values between this 0 and ts duration are completely discarded, whereas we just take the values at the 0 and ts duration. So we have consider values at 0, then ts, then 2ts, and so on. So something like this. So we have it at ts, then we take at 2ts, then we take at 3ts, then we take at 4ts, then at 5ts, and so on, and we continue this. So suppose we basically take the samples at integer multiple of this ts duration. So what we do is we take samples at integer multiple of ts duration, and this ts is known as the sampling duration. Now if we consider 1 by ts, so this is known as fs, which is known as sampling frequency. So what we basically do is we take the samples or values of this x of t at integer multiple of ts duration. So if we observe carefully, this entire process can be considered as some kind of switching. For example, I have a switch here, and at this side, at the input side, I have the signal that is x of t, and this switch is made on, or it is switched on at nts for a very small duration, or let's say for at nts instant. So in that case, if I am switching it at t equal to nts, so if I am switching it on at t equal to nts, at the output side what I am going to get is x of nts, and this is what we call as the sampled version. So this is the sampled version of x of t. So now the question that arises is, how is it to be done? So the question now that we need to answer in this lecture is how sampling is done. Now if we observe this diagram here, we need to pick value of the signal at a particular instant, say at nts. So what we have is, suppose this is the time axis, and so let me name it as time axis, and we need to pick up the value of signal at nts, which means that I need to have something that is having some finite value, or that is having a non-zero value at this nts duration or at nts instant, whereas it is 0 for all other values of t. So basically I need some kind of signal that is having a non-zero value at t equal to nts, whereas it is 0 for all other values. And if we observe carefully, so this can be achieved by having a unit impulse. So this can be achieved by having unit impulse. So the unit impulse is basically defined as, say, del of t minus nts, because we want this impulse to be placed at t equal to nts. Therefore, we need to consider the shifted version. So this del of t minus nts is defined as 0 if t is not equal to nts and it is not equal to 0 if t equal to nts. Moreover, integration from minus infinity to infinity del of t minus nts dt is also equal to 1, and therefore we call it as unit impulse. So now this impulse, if we multiply with x of t here, so that impulse will allow us to pick the value at t equal to nts. So multiplication of this signal, that is x of t, with this impulse located at t equal to nts will give us the value of the signal at that instant. But instead of having one single value, we want the value of this x of t, or we want the samples at n equal to 0, 1, 2 and so on, and similarly -1, -2 and so on. So therefore, instead of considering this del of t minus nts, that is single impulse, we consider a train of impulse. So we consider a train of impulse which can be given as p of t equal to summation n running from minus infinity to infinity del of t minus nts. And we claim that if we multiply this p of t with our given signal, that is x of t, we are able to get the samples. So let us try to understand it. So what we have is this x of t as our continuous time signal. This p of t as the train of impulse, and we observe that we have one unit impulse located at every integer multiple of ts, which we had considered something like this. So this is the mathematical definition for train of impulse, and we claim that if we multiply, so this multiplication should lead us to sampling. So let's say this multiplication results into some kind of signal. Let's say it is given by xp of t. So what we will do is, we need to consider xp of t as equal to x of t multiplied by p of t. So what we have is x of t is equal to xp of t is equal to x of t multiplied by p of t. So this x of t is our normal signal whereas this P of t is defined as summation n running from minus infinity to infinity del of t minus nts. Now as this x of t is independent of n, so we can just take it inside. So what we have is summation n running from minus infinity to infinity x of t del of t minus nts. Now if we observe this product here and consider the shifting property of unit impulse, then we are going to get something interesting. So what does this shifting property tell us? So it says that if we have a signal, say x of t, and it is multiplied by the unit impulse which is located at t equal to t naught, then this unit impulse picks up the value of x of t at t naught multiplied by the impulse itself. So that this means that when we scale this unit impulse by some signal, then this unit impulse takes the value or takes the area as equal to x of t minus x of t located at t naught. So what we get is x of t into del of t minus t naught is equal to x of t naught into del of t minus t naught. So if we apply the shifting property here, then this product will lead us to have a term of x of nts here, because we have an impulse located at t equal to nts and it would be taking up or it would be picking up the value of x of nts. Therefore what we have is summation n running from minus infinity to infinity x of nts del of t minus nts. So this is xp of t. So now let us try to visualize this xp of t. So we know that this is our continuous time signal. This is the train of impulse. And the new signal that we had obtained was xp of t, which is given as summation n running from minus infinity to infinity x of nts into del of t minus nts. Now if we observe this product again and just consider this factor, that is x of nts multiplied by del of t minus nts. So what we observe is we have a unit impulse at t equal to nts, but the area of the unit impulse is now x of nts. So this is the area of the unit impulse, or we can just say that it is the area of the impulse that is located at t equal to nts. So if we observe carefully, the impulse which was located at minus nts will now be having an area of x of minus nts. So we are having some kind of scaling that is required. Similarly, so it is x of minus ts here. Similarly, the impulse that is located at t equal to 0 would be having an area of x of 0. So this impulse here would be having an area of 0. Similarly, the impulse which is located at t equal to 2ts would be having an area of x of 2ts, and similarly the impulse which is located at x of nts would be having an area of x of nts. So if we visualize this graph and compare with this original x of t, then at every impulse location, that is at every ts duration, that is at every integer multiple of this nts, we are getting an impulse with the area of the value of x of t at which the impulse is located. So therefore this impulse or each impulse at nts location is basically picking up the value of this signal, that is x of t, at t equal to nts, and this results in basically the sampled version of the original signal. So this is giving us the sampled version of x of t. So in this lecture we looked at the sampling of continuous time signals in order to have the discrete time signals. So we saw that why we require or why there is a need of having sampling or having conversion from continuous time to discrete time signals. We looked at this conversion is basically done by the process of sampling. Then we said that we are going to consider unit impulse signal which is having a value, a non-zero value at which it is located, that is at t equal to nts, and it is having 0 otherwise. So we considered, instead of this unit impulse, a train of impulse which looked something like this, and we multiplied this train of impulse with this x of t, and we claimed that the output of this multiplication is the sampled version. So after mathematical manipulation, we look at the final output graphically, and we observe that each impulse is now having an area of the value at which the impulse is present. For example, at t equal to nts, the impulse is having the area as x of nts, and therefore each impulse is picking up the value of this original continuous time signal, that is x of t, at which the impulse is located, and therefore it allows us to have the sampling of the continuous time signal. So the sampled signal was obtained by xp of t equal to x of t into p of t, where this p of t is the train of impulse, and the final value is obtained as summation. So it is basically n running from minus infinity to infinity x of nts into del of t minus nts. So this is the final sampled version. We looked at certain definitions also, in which the first one was the sampling duration. So we had this ts as the sampling duration. And we saw 1 by ts as the sampling frequency. And the unit of this sampling frequency is given as samples per second, and it indicates that number of samples that would be obtained after sampling in 1 second duration. In this lecture, we looked at the time domain representation for this sampling of the signal. In the next lecture, we would look at what happens in the frequency domain. Till then, let's stop here. Thank you.